You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is Jon Carissimo and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. And sometimes part of that process is really just understanding the possibilities that are out there of what you can actually do with your real estate license given the right level of action. So we actually sent out this morning, if you're not subscribed to our email list, go over to tampaschoolofrealestate.com and make sure you get subscribed on our email list, because we like to send out information like this that, again, will help expand your thinking and open your ideas up to what you could actually do with a real estate license. And so that's what this video is. To give you a short version of this video that we sent out in the email this morning. So this agent, this has been a few years since he's gotten started. He's now like some sort of like coach guru because he's leveled himself up so much. I think his most recent stats for last year in 2022 were doing $100 million. So last year doing $100 million. His first year he did $30 million in sales in just the first year. And so what we're going to talk about today, because in this video, it's a very short video, but he breaks down the simple things, his daily schedule, what his daily schedule looked like. And so we're going to infuse a little bit additional insight that we can behind something like this. But the whole purpose of today is understanding how much money there really is to be made in real estate and how it actually is possible. If you go into real estate simply thinking about replacing your current level of income, you're going to severely underestimate your capabilities and your potential, because what it takes to sell $30 million of real estate in a year, it's potentially a lot less than you think. So we're going to break that down, and we've got the live chat loaded up on here. So if you're tuned in, welcome in. Let me see, I got a bunch of tabs open here. Let me see which one of these has the chat. Yeah, if you're not watching on tampaschoolofrealestate.com, let me see if I got the YouTube on here. We could flip back and forth between YouTube and Facebook. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Do you have a real estate license already, or is it something that you're interested in obtaining? Or do you have a real estate license and you're like, wait a minute, how did this agent go and sell $30 million in his first year? I haven't even done my first deal yet. So what we're going to do, again, is break down that schedule that he covered right in this video. And again, if you're on our email list, which if you're getting the links to these videos, you probably already got the other link this morning with the link to that video. We've also got it on our Instagram story. Let me do that. That's probably the easiest way you could go find this right now if you want to see this video. Go on Instagram, on IG, as the kids call it. You know, the little thing with the, isn't that how the logo looks? Something like that. IG, go follow us, tsre.us. So go find us on the good old Instagram, tsre.us. You can click on our story, and we shared that video on there if you want to go see what he actually said. But I've watched this video a couple times since we found this morning off of Instagram here, just because when we see a phenomenal, extraordinary success story, such as something like this here, we want to break down and understand what it is that they did that got them to that level, and to a certain degree also what it is that they did not do. And so going back to, if you're trying to figure out how you level yourself up to be able to do $30 million in sales in a year. Maybe you're a few years into real estate and you haven't hit that $30 million in sales across multiple years. So the strategy that is broken down in this video, it's a very simple strategy, and it's not something that this coach guy, real estate agent, has invented. It's really just very good execution of very basic principles. And that's why real estate can be such a powerful tool for creating wealth, is because if you pay attention to these simple principles and you understand these simple principles and you execute well on these simple principles. It's not about knowing everything. It's about understanding these simple principles and being able to really master and execute well on these very simple concepts and principles. So an excellent job in that video of breaking that down a little bit more specifically. So let's dig into the $30 million number, because I know that's something attractive that's probably brought you here today. How do I get $30 million in my first year? Well, and here's the thing. It's not that he made $30 million. It's $30 million in sales. So if a real estate agent sells $30 million worth of real estate, how much gross commission is that? So $30 million, we have these figures called, again, gross commission. And we also refer to this as GCI, gross commission income. This is way more real world than what you'll need to know for your exam, but it's definitely good business building topics for you to understand. This is some of the stuff that we cover in our post-licensing, how to reverse engineer these numbers, how to business plan, how to get yourself set up to understand what you need to do to be able to hit, say, $30 million, which let's write that out here. A lot of zeros. Now, as I said, this $30 million, that's just the gross volume of properties sold. And this was his first year. So like I said, he's already gone on and scaled this now to doing $100 million a year. 30 million to 100 million if his social media is to be believed there, which doing $100 million in real estate, that is very believable. If you think that's a lot of money, you don't understand how many trillions of dollars of real estate there is just in Florida, let alone the rest of the country. So the money is there. Don't be naive and think that there's any scarcity of money out there. Just because money might be scarce to you right now, and look, I get it, I've been there. I've been there multiple times where money's been scarce. But you can't lose sight of all these zeros that exist in the real world. And when you don't lose sight of those, you figure out a way to move some of those zeros over to your bank account. Ideally with a number in front of the zeros. That's the key thing, having a number in front of the zeros. Doesn't matter how many zeros you have until you have a number in front of them. But this 30 million. So what does that look like in gross commission income? So that's sales volume right here, this 30 million. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this by a commission rate. Now, a very typical commission rate is 3%. And we'll do this off of 2% for the skeptics, because you're like, oh, what if he just cut his commission to get $30 million worth of real estate? Well, good for him. Good for him if he's cut his commission to be able to get market share. And look, commissions are a negotiable amount, and that's one angle you could play as a new agent, is I'll give you a deal. Especially in a world we live in right now, an economy, a market that we live in right now where people are, trying to be careful with the dollars they spend. That doesn't mean that they're not spending dollars. They're just being careful with the dollars that they spend. And so you offering maybe a discounted commission compared to what another agent might charge might entice somebody to use you, especially if you don't have your offering and you're not providing as much value as somebody who is more experienced or who has more of a marketing budget or whatever the case may be. So there's all kinds of different ways you can get out there and do this. And that's not the reason. It doesn't matter what commission he charged. That's not the reason why he sold $30 million worth of sales. And look, here's the thing. If you are one of those skeptical people, which I get it, I could be very skeptical as well sometimes. But the thing about being skeptical is you're basically immediately looking for excuses as to why this wouldn't work, as opposed to looking for the clues of success. That's why we're studying this guy in this video that he put out here today. That's why, it's because he left clues. His success left clues. He actually left very clear clues in what his daily schedule looks like, which is what we're going to be breaking down next, so stay tuned for that. But let's just talk about how much money he actually potentially brought home. So if this is a 3% commission, this is going to be close to $1 million in gross commission. And how do I know that? Because I know $33 million is how you get to $1 million in gross commission at a 3% commission. Because the more you work with these numbers, the more you start to get to know them. But let's find out the exact dollar figure that he could have walked away with, that he could have had in gross commission income. So we got $30 million in sales. And again, this is first year. So congrats to this guy doing it in 1 year. I mean, I know other agents that have hit 30 million, but not always in their first year. Sometimes it takes them 3, 4, 5 years to get to that point. But let's talk about just how much money $30 million worth of sales is. I'm going to turn off my camera here for a moment. Oh, that's not the camera. There we go. So that way you can see the full calculator. So we're going to take this 30 million and we're going to multiply it by a 3% commission. 3%. You can already see the answer there. $900,000. That's right. Let me say that again just in case the mic cut out. $900,000 in gross commission income in his first year. That's what $30 million worth of sales looks like here. Is $900,000. Let's talk about where he's at now, doing $100 million a year. And now, granted, he probably has some sort of team, which, I mean, if you're bringing in almost $1 million a year, why can't you spread the wealth and bring on a team so you can do even more? And that's obviously what he's done. I don't know, maybe he's doing this as a single agent, but here's the thing. This $30 million, this isn't a law or a rule or anything like that, but this is probably, I don't know, it depends on the market as well, because as prices go up, that becomes easier to do. But overall, this is probably in the range of where most single agents are maxing out. You might even be as a single agent not able to do as much to be able to get $30 million in sale. Maybe you do have to have an assistant or a buyer's agent or something like that. But when you really start treating this more like a business, and okay, let's say you're doing $100 million now a year in gross commission volume. Now at that same 3% commission, got $100 million at 3% commission, and that's now 3 million big ones. $3 million in gross commission income. And you might say, well, what about a broker with a split? Well, yeah, if you're at a broker with a split and not a 100% broker, then yeah, part of that will probably go to the broker. Part. Maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, depending on the split you have the broker. You don't like that? After 2 years, you could go become your own broker, and you don't have to split anything with anyone unless you're cooperating on a deal with another agent, which is how most deals get done. You know, most deals in real estate, you're not working with the buyer and the seller. You're working with one side or the other. If you get so lucky, you get to work with both sides, and now you get double commission because you're getting a commission for the buyer side and a commission for the seller side. But if you're just working half of the deal, that's all I'm figuring here. If this person worked both sides of these deals, then those dollar amounts would be double if you work both sides of the deal. But most of the time, your deals are going to be sold through the multiple listing service, through the MLS. So you're only going to have one side of this. So not necessarily 6% commission, but 3% commission. But that's how you get to the $900,000 and $30 million in sales. That's how you get to the $3 million in gross commission based on $100 million in sales. So you're probably wondering, what did this agent do to get $900,000? Or again, maybe less than that, maybe more. He could have charged a 3.5% commission, but I want to be conservative. I want to use a pretty typical number. Even if we did this at 2% commission, that's still $600,000 and still $2 million. Now cutting that down to just 2% commission, which would mean your overall commission rate dropping from 6 to 4%, which is like a fire sale when it comes to listing properties. But if you know your worth, if you know your value, you're able to command and negotiate a higher commission rate. You could charge 3.5%, 4%, 5%, 10% commission if that's what you could get somebody to agree to. But again, just to keep this very average, very typical, that's why we use the 3% number here. And you might say, well, John, is it typical to sell $30 million in your first year? No, that's not typical. That is not typical. If you want to get your real estate license and expect that to just happen to you, it will not. However, if you can work smart, if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to invest the time, the money, the energy, as well as be willing to be a student, not necessarily coming into this like you know everything, because I'll be honest with you, that's how I came into real estate. I came into real estate thinking I knew everything, and it held me back so much because I knew a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I had to learn the hard way or that I put off having to learn. And if I learned these things faster, I would have been much more successful faster. And one of the things that really helped me was when I actually took some little sales boot camp type of thing. Also, post-licensing helped me immensely. I actually learned a lot of the stuff from post-licensing in the boot camp, so that's why I would say do post-licensing first. It's a requirement, and it's got some really good information in there to help you understand how to do business. Not just what you can and can't do, what's the law and what's on your exam. That's what your pre-licensing course is all about. Passing your exam, the laws, the rules, what you need to know to be legal. Whereas post-licensing now takes a different perspective where you're focused more on building a real estate business because you already have a real estate license. So get into that post-licensing course right away so that way you could build out your own business plan. Maybe for you, making close to $1 million in a year is just completely not something that you're wanting to do. Maybe that's too much money for you. I would argue there's no such thing as too much money, but, you know, maybe that's too much money for now. So, okay, we could lower that down to whatever target it is that would change your life. You know, you're making 50 grand a year at whatever job it is that you're working. How would it be to make 100? This agent made almost $1 million, almost 10 times that much. So why can't you come in and make 100? Or, again, if you just want to replace your salary, you could do that as well. But if you think bigger, this job gets easier. Because what's easier, having $900,000 of income or having $90,000 of income? $90,000 might sound good to you, but how much better would be $900,000? How much more could you do with $900,000? How much more impact could you have with $900,000? How much could you help your family with $900,000? How much could you help your friends with $900,000? How much could you build a brand, build something bigger than yourself with $900,000? What type of trips and vacations could you take with $900,000 in a year? What type of future could you have for your family, for your kids, with $900,000 in a year, let alone $3 million? But if you're new to real estate, I don't want to talk about this level too much just because that's when you're really starting to level up and build this more into a business. You know, this isn't just, you know, I know there's a whole gamut of realtors. There's people that take this super serious, that will go out there and hustle and do the things they know they need to do because they've been taught what to do, because they've made themselves a student so they can know what exactly to do to execute on these simple things they need to be able to execute on. So that way they could go out there and make close to $1 million in a year. But at the same time, there's a lot of real estate agents that have the license and they don't actively practice real estate. Maybe they use it for referral fees. Maybe they just don't take life that seriously. And I know you've seen these people. And look, if that's you, if you're the person where you know, life is, you know, just all about the enjoyment, well, having a real estate license is probably a lot better than having a day job. But, you know, you'll probably be the real estate agent in flip-flops with the Hawaiian shirt, maybe. Shorts, flip-flops, Hawaiian shirts, sunglasses. You maybe sell a couple deals a year, make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, so you got enough money to, you know, go take trips and have your tiny house or whatever it is that fits your life. You could do that. That could be your real estate lifestyle. No one is here to tell you otherwise. As long as you stay within the law, whether you want to make a little bit of money or you want to make millions of dollars a year, you could do that with real estate. But not if you just sit on your butt and don't take any action. Not if you don't get the license. Not if you don't take the classes. Not if you don't make yourself a student. You humble yourself. That was the thing and I was told this from the last job I had before I got into real estate. And there's a few things. I had ran businesses before. I went to school for marketing. This company that I worked for is a 180,000 person organization, and I was in the top 1% of salespeople on a consistent basis, even being some of the top actually 5 in the entire company of 180,000 people. So I had a big head going into real estate, and I did not make myself a student. I did not humble myself, and that was actually feedback that I got from that job, that I needed to have more humility. And you know, that's why I'm just saying jobs aren't all bad. There's people that can make a lot of money from jobs, and jobs can provide stability and security, but with the way the world's looking right now, I wouldn't count on the stability and the security that is perceived that you might have had for the last few years in that job. I know even school teachers. We had a school teacher coming into our office the other day that was signing up for her license, and she actually had gone through it before, but her time had lapsed, and so she had to start over and get the license again. And the reason why, the motivating factor for her now was her school was closing. The school that she'd been teaching at for years was closing. And so she needed to find a new way to make money. So, I mean, this is literally the most government, most stable job you would think, but then turns out they're really not. And so now what is it worth accepting that lower rate of pay, that lower level of opportunity, when you don't even get the stability that you would think would be typically promised with something like this? So that was something that frustrated me. The company that I was with, it was definitely struggling. It's still in business today. They definitely have turned things around quite a bit, but it was a struggling organization. And so that made it hard for people like me to be able to advance in the company just because the company wasn't growing. Whereas in your real estate business, you could be responsible for this. For your growth, for the growth of your business, the growth of your company, the growth of your real estate empire. And you have a real estate license. You're not necessarily buying and selling real estate. This guy, and that's why we shared this video. Usually you only see these videos, people talking big numbers like this, when it's like, oh yeah, I flipped all these houses, or I flipped contracts, or I did some sort of nonsense that's borderline illegal. That's not what we teach here. We're regulated by the Florida Real Estate Commission, by the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, which are both directly overseen by the governor of Florida. That's who licenses me as an instructor. That's who licenses Tampa School of Real Estate as a school. That's who licenses our courses that we offer here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. We even have, for some of our online courses, an ARELO certification, which isn't even a Florida-specific thing. And so again, this isn't some like get-rich-quick scam that you've stumbled across on the internet. This is a real profession that pays very well if you execute on the simple things that was shared in this video. And again, if you're looking for the link to this video, make sure you're subscribed to our email list. We actually sent that out in an email this morning. We also have it on our Instagram. I'll go flash the Instagram one more time. It's real simple. It's tsre.us. So you go find us on Instagram, tsre.us. You go check out the story right there of exactly what he said. But you don't have to go watch that, because I'm going to tell you right here. And I'm going to make this visual, because this was just a very informal kind of like couch interview type of thing. So let's put it on the board of what he did. So 9 to 12, 9 a.m., and I'm sorry, actually 8 a.m. 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. was a window. 12 to 1 p.m. was a window. He also talked about the window of 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. He talked about his window from 1 to 3 p.m. And then what he talked about was what he was doing from 3 p.m. on. And I can attest to this daily rhythm. Maybe you don't go out and sell $30 million in your first year, but I guarantee you, if you do this enough, you will sell something. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because this is the most tried and true things it is that you could do in real estate. And now, if you don't like this schedule that I'm about to break down here, it doesn't have to be your schedule. However, especially if you're starting out and you really want something turnkey that you know that works, that hasn't just worked for this agent to sell $30 million in his first year, but has worked for countless agents time and time again, because this is also very similar to a lot of the same concepts that we're teaching in our post-licensing course. This is maybe a little bit more specific because this is an actual real-world example of an actual real estate professional of what he actually did in his first year to be able to sell $30 million worth of real estate. So 7:30, he's at work. Now, what does that mean for you as a realtor, that you're at work? Watch this, guys. I'm not going to close this completely here because I don't want to lose you. I got my chat loaded up on here. What does it mean to be a realtor at work? Well, you do this. Anywhere you could do this, that you could be doing this, you're basically at work. Yes, you're probably going to have to go out there and show some properties, meet with some people at their homes, but you could start work immediately. Now, if you look at a lot of different success stories, they're not just rolling up out of bed and sitting up and opening up their laptop and working. Now, they're usually maybe going to the gym before this, they're getting their mind ready, they're doing meditation, they're eating breakfast, they're showering, getting dressed. Because even if you are working from home, you could do that. You could have a home office in real estate. You could have a home office. Maybe you just go to your home office. You just go to your little corner in your living room, or to your den, or maybe you have an extra bedroom that you could turn into an office, whatever the case may be, but some place that you could really dedicate to be your space for making money. And so that's where he is at 7:30. He's at work. Now, that could be your real estate office, but I'll be honest with you, the most popular trend in real estate right now is not going to the office. Most real estate agents like to have an office, although there are companies like EXP that really don't even have offices. They're the only one I know of that doesn't really have a big office presence. There's a lot of different brokerages out there, but you know, the whole idea of going into brokerage offices, it's not as popular anymore because, I mean, we have all this technology, so it's like you could be there without having to be there. But whatever that means for you, that you're at work, and you're getting ready to start dialing at 8 a.m. because that was his rhythm, that he was making phone calls for 4 hours between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. Now, who is it that he's calling? Number one thing it is you should be calling as a new agent is your sphere. Anyone that you know. Because if you know them, you already have a relationship with them. Hey, I just called to catch up with you, see how you've been, how are the kids, how's the wife? You know, I don't know if I shared it with you, but I'm actually in real estate right now. Or are you still doing, or maybe you lead it off with, are you still doing blah, blah, blah for work? Oh, that's fantastic. How you liking it? You are? Great. Yeah, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm in real estate now. No way. Yeah, you know, I'm loving it. It's so fantastic. I'm at a great brokerage. You know, I've learned so much. It's so exciting. And, you know, there's just so much opportunity that's out here. It's unreal, especially with the market we have right now. And then you have some back and forth. You have a little bit of conversation, but that's how you have a sphere of influence conversation. Now, there were two specific ones, I believe, that he mentioned on here as well. And these are free leads, basically. As close to free as you could get for the most part. You can try to dig through the internet a little bit and ultimately get this information at no cost, but there's also tons of services out there that are usually like $100 a month. And your broker might already have something like this that they provide for you, where you basically have a database of two things. We'll zoom in on these here. For sale by owners and expired listings. So for sale by owners and expired listings are an amazing source of leads for new agents. And this was, again, specifically part of his formula in this little like 60-second Instagram reel of FSBOs and expireds that he was calling them, and actually specifically more so with this window here. So let's talk about what he was doing 12 to 1. That was lunch. Lunch and getting ready to door knock expireds. Now look, if you're not if you're not somebody that wants to cold call or that wants to go door knocking, that doesn't necessarily have to be part of your routine in real estate. There's tons of other ways to get leads. However, when you're new to real estate, you're likely on a very limited budget. And the great part about door knocking expired listings is you don't have to have any subscription at all to be able to door knock expired listings, because you just need to have the MLS. Because if you have the MLS, you could get a report of all the expired listings and what the addresses are. And then you can just map them all out. That's what this agent did. He spent basically 2 hours every day. He spent 4 hours on the phone, spent 2 hours door knocking. And so between these two activities right here, that's 6 hours of prospecting. A day. Which, if you're wondering as a new real estate agent, what is it you should be spending your time doing? It's prospecting. Getting in communication with people, and it doesn't have to be from door knocking or FSBOs or expires. Those are just really easy ways to get started with as a new agent. Let's zoom back in these right here. Number one, your sphere of influence, because if somebody already knows you, it's so much easier for them to flow you. If they know you, there's already an established level of trust that you don't have with these two categories here, with the expireds and FSBOs. But the benefit of the expireds and FSBOs is these are hot leads. Your sphere might be cold. And so keep in mind for sphere about referrals, because you've probably heard this question before. Who do you know? Who do you know? Practice that one with me right now. You ready? Who do you know? Who do you know? Why are you practicing who do you know? Because that's what you need to be asking. Who do you know that would need the best realtor in all of Tampa right now? Who do you know that needs a superstar realtor? Who do you know that needs somebody who will dedicate time and attention and love and care and respect to them? However you want to spin it, but you got to ask that question. Who do you know? Because these people trust you. And if they truly are your friends, if they truly are on your side, they're going to want to see you win. And how do they help you win? They give you somebody. Who do you know? Who do you know? If you could master that phrase, who do you know? And who they know might be themselves. So that's another reason why that who do you know is such a great one there, because you might say, who do you know? And they might say, well, actually, we're kind of in the market to buy something. So that's your sphere of influence. Again, that could be a gold mine. Every single contact in your phone book, anybody you ever interacted with, anybody you could call that has some level of relationship, again, they have a better relationship than these cold prospects of the FSBOs and expireds. But again, these are hot leads. Because the FSBOs are trying to do it, they're just doing it themselves, and they're just a little misguided and confused trying to do it themselves because they've got no idea what they're doing. They didn't go take the pre-licensing course like you did. They didn't go spend weeks studying this information and taking exams and taking post-licensing courses and continuing educations and broker trainings and webinars and YouTubes and all these things it is, all the hours you invest to make yourself an expert. And so if you could present and communicate yourself as an expert to these for sale by owners, and for expireds, this was a listing listed by another realtor that had sat on the market, didn't sell, expired, and now ultimately it's fair game for any realtor to basically come in and take over that listing because it's no longer a listing once it expires. So this is also a very hot lead, but you've got to be able to differentiate yourself from the last agent they had. And the key with an expired listing is finding out what went wrong. Not what you think went wrong, but what did the client think went wrong? Because that's going to be your bridge to be able to solve their problem. And you got to remember to keep yourself fed. Probably don't need to tell you that. If you're living in America, we're probably one of the most well-fed countries in the world. So you got to make some time for that, of course. But then this door knocking exercise here. There's many reasons you could door knock. You could door knock the expireds like we talked about right here. And since this guy went and sold $30 million of real estate in his first year, I don't know, maybe that's worth repeating on your side here. But you could also door knock to farm a neighborhood, to invite people to an open house, to go out there to collect emails for market reports, to drop off newsletters. That could be a great way to get face-to-face with people. The whole thing is just about communication. That's all you're trying to do. You're just trying to get in communication with more people. That's why this guy was spending 6 hours a day of direct prospecting trying to get leads. Because most of the people you talk to don't want to do business right now. If you're a new agent, you're gonna be maybe a little bit rough at first. You're gonna need to have some practice. You're gonna need to get some experience because you never become great until you become frequent. You have to become frequent before you can become great. And 6 hours a day, that'll make you great. If you're looking to, again, really make real estate your full-time thing, this would be what I'd recommend. 6 hours a day of prospecting. It's how this agent sold $30 million in his first year. And the door knocking, the face-to-face prospecting is probably more valuable than your over-the-phone prospecting, but it does take more time. And so after 3 p.m., he was out there doing appointments, taking appointments. Because if you're spending 6 hours prospecting, what are you trying to do? You're trying to book an appointment. And when you set it up like this, hey, I'm at work right now. Can we meet later tonight? Absolutely. How's 6 p.m.? And now you've got a 6 p.m. on your calendar. And you've already done all your prospecting earlier in the day, so now it's time to come in and go get your checks. To go out there, get your contract signed so you get your closings, so you get your checks. And one other thing he mentioned on here, which is another thing that we've talked about before, specifically on State of Real Estate. I don't know how many episodes we've done on this, but quite a few. Open houses. 2 open houses every weekend. Saturday and Sunday, both days holding open houses. Now, why do you do that? Because now you get to play realtor with the public coming in. And if you've done a good job marketing this open house, maybe that's the reason you're calling these people. Hey, I'd love to invite you to my open house this weekend. you got to think of what are reasons I have to call somebody multiple times. Because if you could reach them multiple times, you're escalating and increasing that level of relationship. It gives you more opportunities to talk about buying, selling, whatever their objective may be. And again, if you've got open houses, hey, I'd love to invite you to the open house this weekend. I'm not sure if this property would be right for you, but I'd love to see you. We'll have some snacks there, have some little games for the kids. Come on and come down. I'd love to meet you in person if you've never met them before. But that's, again, another reason why you could be calling those same exact people. Why would you call a for sale owner? Hey, well, I thought we had a great relationship. We talked a few times a while back. Look, I'm sorry for bothering you. I didn't mean to offend you, but, while I've got you on the phone, who do you know? Who do you know that this property might be good for? Who do you know that I could share this with? Who do you know that might want to live here? Who do you know that you maybe call someone in Orlando and you're in Tampa? Well, who do you know that wants to move to Tampa? Who do you know? Not do you know, who do you know? That's why you got to practice this, because if you don't practice it, you'll slip up and you'll say, do you know? And they'll say no, and then you'll be on your way. Whereas when you ask, who do you know? It's going to make them think for a second because you didn't ask them a yes or no question. And when you don't ask somebody a yes or no question, it makes them think. It makes them slow down. It makes them open up to you. So that's it. That's the $1 million formula right there, if there is one. That's this agent's $1 million formula. This is how he went out $900,000 if we're figuring a 3% commission. So let me not call it $1 million formula. Don't need the fact checkers on me here. So we'll call it a $900,000 formula. $900,000, 6 hours a day of prospecting was what he prescribed. 4 hours in the morning of cold calling from 8 to 12. And you better be ready to go at 8 a.m. So that's why you're there, sitting at your desk, getting ready, waiting for that phone to ring. Maybe you've seen that movie Wall Street or any of these Wall Street movies where all the traders are just sitting there waiting for that bell to ring, waiting for the market to open. So that way they can start calling people and making deals. That's what you're waiting for. You're waiting for 8 a.m. because 8 a.m. is when the do not call list, telemarketing acts, and all that other stuff. It's usually 8 a.m. is the start time for that. So 8 a.m. you're on the phone 8 a.m. and you're making every minute count of those 4 hours, because every call you make is a potential connection that could result in a $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 commission. Just from one deal, let alone the 5.7 deals on average you get from every contact you have. So if you spend your time building contacts, you will build a business. I'll say that again. You spend your time building contacts, prospecting, you will build a business. You don't dedicate any time to working leads, to prospecting, to turning leads into clients. And look, it's not a question, it's two questions. Number one, a quantity of leads, in number of leads, in number of people, but number two, in follow-up. So it's not just that you want to go wide. You also got to go deep. You got to get lots of people in, and you got to follow up with them. On average, the average homeowner moves every 5 to 7 years. So if they just moved, you could be waiting 5, 6, 7 years, or maybe less, because averages are just that. They're just averages. They're not saying, well, you can't move before 5 years. No. Oh, you want to move? Fantastic. I'm your guy. I'm your girl. That's the type of attitude that you want to have, but if you're not in communication with people, you won't find out about what's going on in their life. You won't be able to know when they're ready to make these decisions, and then what's going to happen is they're just going to go on Google or Zillow or wherever they go and go find some realtor that's paying for ads, because that's another way you could go about this. If you don't like this direct prospecting strategy, you could advertise your way to selling real estate, but number one, advertising costs money, and number two, as a new real estate agent, you probably have some sort of limited budget. You might have zero ad budget or a very limited ad budget. And even if you do have some money for ads, hold off on spending that money on your ads. Get out there, start prospecting, get out in the neighborhoods, go to farmers markets, hold open houses. You don't have to have your own listings to get an open house. You should be focused on getting your own listing so you can hold your own open house. But until you get your own listing, find out who will allow you to hold open houses at their listing. Because there's tons of agents out there that don't have time to do open houses at every one of their listings. So if you're a new agent and you've got time, reach out to them, give a professional impression to them so they know they could trust you holding their property as an open house. But then it's as easy as that. And try to do that both days, every single weekend, on top of 6 hours of prospecting a day. And that's, again, what this agent did, what he exactly broke down in that little video we emailed out earlier today to get to $30 million of sales in the first year. So if you want to see that video, make sure you check us out at tsre.us. That's actually the URL. You can go right to our website with that, tsre.us, or go check us out on Instagram, tsre.us. And we actually have a little bit of a sale going on. So for those of you guys still tuned in here, I'll tell you about this real quick. We actually have a pretty big deal, tsre.us/sale is how you can get to it. And you could actually save up to 15%, actually up to 20%, I believe, is the max savings that we have of additional savings on top of the already on sale pricing of our courses on the website. So make sure you check that out. If you're thinking about getting your real estate license, if you're thinking about doing your post licensing and getting that all knocked out so that way you get a little bit more knowledge to grow your real estate business, maybe you're thinking about getting your broker license because you're ready to take the next step to eliminate your split, to be able to open your own office, to start your own brand completely, to build out an even more powerful team than you might have already. So any way we could help you, reach out to our advisors, 813-333-2676. That phone number there, 813-333-2676. You could call or text us. Check us out online at tsre.us, again, /sale if you want to see the best deals we've got going on right now. You want to see that video we were referencing today, just follow us on Instagram at TSRE. That's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you again for tuning in. We'll be back on next Friday for more State of Real Estate. If you're looking for Ask the Instructor, if you're like, hey, what happened to Ask the Instructor? Get subscribed to our Pass First Try strategy, because now we've taken Ask the Instructor to a whole new level on an invite-only basis for anyone who is part of the Pass First Try bundle. It's every Wednesday, 12 noon. So if you're preparing for your exam, that alone makes the Pass First Try bundle worth it, on top of all the other tools that have made that Pass First Try bundle famous. So any questions about passing your exam, getting started, again, check us out. That phone number, 813-333-2676. It's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday, 12 noon. Make sure you're subscribed. Until then, have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day, of course, also to all the moms out there as well. And you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam, because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com. So you just got your real estate license. How can you jumpstart your real estate business?
the number one thing you should do before you do anything else is post licensing. Now look, this is already a requirement, so you're gonna have to do it anyways, but here's why you wanna do it early. The sooner you do post licensing, the sooner you're gonna learn the real world concepts in post licensing that will help you create a business plan, that'll help you plan for your success in real estate. Post licensing is all about real world topics that are usable, that'll help you grow your real estate business. And at Tampa School of Real Estate, we have the best post licensing courses around. Find out more about how post licensing can help you jumpstart your real estate career. Go to postflorida.com. Have you been thinking about getting your Florida real estate license? Look, the process is probably easier than you think. We break it down step by step, how much it's going to cost, what it is that you need to do to get your Florida real estate license. Find out all of that and more at licensefl.com. Again, that's licensefl.com.
Have you seen what's going on in Tampa?
If you're looking to get in on the real estate action that's going on in Tampa right now, we're who you need to talk to. We can help you get your real estate license, start your real estate career. We're here to assist you for the life of your real estate career. Give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106, or check us out online at tampaschool.com.